Would you ever rip open a wound just to check if it's still bleeding? Well, that's exactly what you're doing every time you look at your ex's social media. You think it's harmless, just a scroll, just a peek, but it's not. It's self-inflicted pain. And if you keep feeding yourself that poison, well, you'll never heal. My name is Raf, and on this channel, I give you raw, no BS relationship advice. If you ever been cheated on, left broken by a narcissist, or if you're struggling to move forward after a heartbreak, well, then this space will bring you value and strength. So if you're tired of, sugar-coated advice and you want some real answers that wake you up and move you forward, well, then make sure you subscribe and be a part of this community. Now, let's get into it, because today I'm exposing the hidden trap of checking your ex's social media and why it's destroying your healing, your peace, and your future. You see, every time you look at your ex's Instagram story or Facebook post, you're not just scrolling, you're building a bridge back to a place that God already rescued you from. Social media, well, it convinces you that there's still a thread connecting you to them, that somehow, they're still part of your life. But let me ask you this. Are you moving forward, or are you dragging the corpse of a dead relationship into your tomorrow? Psychologists at the University of Missouri, well, they found out that people who constantly monitor their exes online have significantly, more distress and a harder time moving on. Well, it's because you are literally rewiring your brain to stay stuck. Understand that healing, it doesn't start when you stop loving them. It starts when you stop feeding them access to your mind. Imagine your heart is like a house. You've kicked the intruder out, you've locked the door and you finally feel safe inside. But every time you peek at their social media, well, it's like, you're unlocking the door again and inviting them to stand on your porch, peeking through their window. They might not be inside your house anymore, but they're still haunting it. And keep in mind that a lock is only as strong as a person who refuses to open it. Social media is a highlight reel, and what you see isn't all reality. It's more like marketing. Your ex could be miserable, lonely, crying at night, but on Instagram, they're smiling at dinner with a new date, posting gym selfies and tagging new people, and your mind, still tender from a heartbreak, swallows the lie whole. You start thinking, they're happier without me. They've already moved on. Maybe I didn't matter. But let me tell you, what you see on their feed, it doesn't define your value. If you let someone else's highlight reel dictate your healing, you'll forever be a spectator in your own life. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guarding your heart, it doesn't just mean protecting it from other people. It means protecting it from yourself, from your bad habits and temptations that sabotage your own peace. Every time you look at your ex's profile, you're tying your emotions to their activity. If they post something with a new person, you feel crushed. If they post something sad, you might feel hopeful. You're letting their actions dictate your emotions, like a puppet master, pulling them strings. In Galatians 5:1, it says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. But how can you live free if your heart is still chained to someone else's digital presence, right? You got to stop allowing your peace to depend on their posts. Another toxic effect of checking your, ex's social media is a comparison game. You start measuring your healing against theirs, your happiness against theirs, your progress against theirs. And every time they post something that looks better than what you're living, well, it chips away at your confidence. A Pew Research survey would show that people who monitor their ex online feel more jealousy, more anxiety, and more self-doubt, right? Checking your ex's profile is like, staring into a shattered mirror, right? You think you're gonna see clarity, but all you see is distorted reflections. Every glance cuts you deeper, right? And instead of showing you who you are now, it keeps reflecting who you were with them. The longer you look at their life, the more you neglect your own. Understand that self-worth, it can't grow in the soil of someone else's garden. It grows when you plant your own. Every minute you spend scrolling their page is a minute that you could have spent building yourself, leveling up, healing, or discovering who God made you to be. Your future, it will never be found in their timeline. It'll be found in your obedience to focus on your own. So how do you break free? Boundaries. Block them, unfollow them, mute them. Whatever you have to do, do it. And people will say, "Oh, that's petty." No, it's not petty. It's powerful because you can't heal in the same environment that broke you. Checking your ex's social media, it won't change the past. It won't answer your questions, and it won't fix your heartbreak. All it does is slow down your healing. So the choice is simple. Keep scratching the wound or finally just let it heal. So here's my challenge to you. Stop giving your ex free rent in your head. Like I said, block them, unfollow them, mute them, whatever it takes. Reclaim your peace, your energy, and your focus, because at the end of the day, you deserve a life that's lived forward, not backwards. God, He never designed you to live in chains. He designed you to live free, to grow, to heal, and to love again. But that can't happen if your eyes are still glued to the rearview mirror. And trust me, what's waiting for you is so much more powerful than what's behind you.